privacy fence or something so the flight path makes them go straight up instead of out across your neighbor's swimming pool or whatever. But you can coexist with bees even in a neighborhood that's in suburbia. If I get my cameraman to come now and get a shot of them coming and going, I think you'll see a few bringing some pollen ever so often. Second one to the left would be a good shot. Zoom on in there and wait a few seconds, and about every 10th or 12th bee I have some pollen on their legs. I have people in different cities that want pollen for various reasons. You can eat it, but I'm not much on it, but some people really are crazy about it. But these bees, most bees in the United States are from a stock of what they call Italian three-stripe or three-band bees, and the variations thereof. They're not as aggressive as the old German bees, for example, a real mean and a darker bee, and they're good producers, but they will defend themselves, no doubt about that. But nonetheless, they are manageable. And incidentally, I mentioned killer bees the other day, the old boy in Panama City who had them. What happened to that was the bee inspector came and freaked out when he found out what they were, and they had to destroy the colony. They had to burn it because you don't want killer bees in your neighborhood, believe me. They'll move in on a weaker hive and take over. And even a few killer bees in a hive, or Africanized bees, if you want to talk polite, can make the rest of them agitated and angry and aggressive. So they're just bad boys, so to speak. But nonetheless, these are pleasantly working. I'm standing here without a bee suit. I'm not directing a flight path, so I'm not bugging them. They're not bugging me. They're going about their work in an orderly and productive manner. You notice this first hive on this other trailer used to be a Zuzu pick-em-up truck. The heavy number of bees at the entrance, that's a stronger hive than the neighbor and the ones on down. But they're out there because it's so hot, and they got to get outside. It's so hot, they guard the entrance. But even an Africanized hive beetle would have trouble getting in there. All those bees hanging around outside in those few entrances there. I drilled 3 holes in those aluminum strips, and in my pipe, I felt sorry for them not having any little doors down there, so I went on and did that, even though the guy in Georgia only had pipes. But nonetheless, I think that's something they can defend easily enough. But that's a real strong hive, and that'll be 2 boxes of honey on that one. And the one next to it's come along. And then the third one down was from a small swarm I got. It's just getting on its feet. But I've used metal pipe, plastic pipe, different size holes, you name it. But after the Tupelo flow, I'll see what worked best and probably go with that with the rest of my colonies, which I'll have on the dead lakes and up behind my house in Weewall. But it's a lot of work to get all this stuff together. But it's been beautiful weather. God's blessed us this year, and it's going to be a good flow. And hope you come to the Tupelo Festival, May 18th. Where we are now is in the heart of Iola, Florida. A community that went belly up years ago. If you went, as the bee flies a half mile that way, would be what we call the Iowa Landing, where the steamboats used to come, pick up the cotton off, or offload it rather onto the train that has a turntable down there. It went back to St. Joe. On my left shoulder, about 30 feet, where the new Iola post office was. My great-grandfather was a postmaster there for years. And between here and there was an orange grove, believe it or not, in the late 1800s. And further down the way was cornfields and old foundations of houses from the late 1800s and so forth. And at the end of the road, where it dead ended, to well, let's see, it's been in the family a long time, what we call the camp house place. It's where they had the horses and cattle and all down there. We had all these sheepdogs for the cattle, but that brings to mind one of my most memorable experiences from beekeeping. And that is right over here. My grandpa had a bee yard here, and was just getting through with the yard. And my job was to smoke the bees. Every time you take the hive apart, you smoke between the boxes and so forth. My job was to smoke them. And just we got this last hive, it was putting on excluders, and this was already full of honey and full of bees. It was a real strong hive. And these old bee benches my grandpa had made back in the 1920s, that thing was cattywampus on it, and as you take the lid off, it kind of tilted just a little too far, and the whole thing fell over and came apart. And we were looking at tens of thousands of angry bees that thought we intentionally turned our house over. And when I went to smoke them, there was no smoke. And that is a really bad feeling when there's nothing between you and all those bees. And what came on that was we had to evacuate the area, and all those old border collies we had, Frisky and Blackie, around here enjoying the shade, they had to move too, because the bee got in their hair, and this business running them crazy. They'd jump on the back of my dad's 1-ton truck, around it, under it, through it, and we were running around waving our arms trying to get the smoker lit. It was a total fiasco. And I hope you can learn from other people's mistakes. And that would be if when you shake the smoker and you hear it rattle around, it's about out of smoke, you need to reload it. And when you take honey, by the way, I recommend 2 smokers to have a backup, so you sure don't want to get out of smoke then. But you need to be particular around bees. If you don't keep them under control, they can control you.
What we're filming here, this is in the old 100-year-old honey house from Mr. Rich, Jim Rich's grandfather built 100 years ago. And right now the honey is being extracted by this machine. You can hear it's making noise as the motor runs the machine. This is out here in the woods and there's no electricity, so everything's run by gasoline. And you can see that the honey is pouring out the bottom of the barrel and into a trough. And there is separated from the wax that came with the honey as it was being extracted. And they filter this stuff several times before it actually is pure enough to be considered pure Tupelo honey. So there's a lot of processing that kind of goes on here. Right now you can see Jim Rich is over there operating a machine that cuts the cap off so that the honey will flow out when it's put in the spinning machine. The honey is extracted from the extractor machine. It flows down at the bottom of that barrel where the extractor itself flows into several filters, and then it flows out into this 55-gallon drum which is sitting on its side. And it's a steady flow, as you can see, where the honey is poured into the drum, and when the drum is filled, then it's capped off and another drum is put in its place.
Most everybody was connected with it somewhere, and then most of the honey then was shipped on the steamboat and carried down to Carolina, and then those on the steamboat shipped it about through Appalachia. Most of it went out that way when it shipped honey out on the steamboat. Most everybody had the bees down on the river on a high scaffold, so they kept on a high scaffold to keep the bears from getting in. And everything was done by hand, then returned the extractor by hand and uncapped it with a hand knife. And rolled it all on a wheelbarrow. Everybody rolled the honey on a wheelbarrow. You have to put it on the wheelbarrow in the yard, roll it in, move it in the house. Everything was done by hand, and it just took a whole lot longer to do it. Now you got machinery to do it, and it's a whole lot quicker and easier. But my dad and me, when I was real small, we would take 3 barrels a day, but the honey was heap better then than it is now, and it didn't take as many bucks to get a barrel of honey. So we would take, the Charles just did hold 3 barrels, and we'd take off 3 barrels of honey, then we'd have to go and knock off and eat supper. We had to go back to the honey house and draw out the barrel because the cabin was dipped. It would run our trough over. We'd have to draw out some overnight so it wouldn't run our trough over. And now it's been a job getting 3 barrels a day ever since.
Ready? Okay, that's good. Smoke some more.
Hey, there goes a beetle.
I'll get him later. All right, these bees been doing pretty good. I see they have honey here. Then I can make them have more honey by taking these foundations they have but haven't worked, put it in the middle. They don't like to have the middle unworked. And they'll draw that out quicker if I put it there than if it just stayed over here on the edge. Again, that's what's your working bees, all right? Making them work harder. So I'll put what's full to the outside and what's empty to the inside. Now this hive will probably be able to give me a sheet of brood or so toward my increase when I'm making a new colony. I'll have 6 frames of brood in there, baby bees, and about 3 more sheets of honey to help them get started. And next time I'm going to break the boxes. Anytime you break the boxes, you smoke. Come here.
Okay.
Now just like it was the top, you smoke between them, all right?
I
All right,
can
go.
smoke.
Good. Okay, watch out. I'm taking off the excluders because the honey flows over.
Dude, check that out.
There's a dead bumblebee. The bumblebee got in the beehive and he was not welcome. He was stung to death. Smoke him some more, Nathan. They'll start stinging us. All right. This excludes the queen from going upstairs where the honey is. I'm going to let them keep this honey for the winter. You don't want to throw these things around because there's a certain measurement that they have that excludes the queen. And you know, you get a bent rod there and she can go right on up there. Let's see what they've been doing. There you go. Nice sheet of brood. I don't want to take too much in this hive and hurt it, but I think they can spare one. But I make sure the queen's not on here. I don't want to take the queen. And amongst those half dozen sheets of brood, I'll find one that has eggs that are less than 3 days old that hadn't laid over. It's still standing upright. And they'll take that and make a queen, make their own queen with it. And I recommend Wooten Golden Queen from California. That's been the best queen we've had in this area for productive bees. Okay. And I've taken off their excluder, which is primarily for the purpose of excluding the queen from getting up there where the honey is when you're getting ready to go on a honey flow. But I take it off and I won't put it back the next spring because when it gets to be winter, I think it's better for them to go upstairs where it's warmer, you know. If they have to keep this brood at a certain temperature, I think it's like 95 degrees, and they cluster around like a big basketball in the wintertime to keep it warm, and it makes it easier for them to be able to come upstairs than be restricted to downstairs. You know, and it would be easier for me to just leave this on here, but even your worker bees have to squeeze through these rods to get upstairs, so it's hard on them, and impossible for the queen to get through here or the drone. But nonetheless, I let them have the freedom to go upstairs this time of year, summer and fall and winter. And I come back and find her next spring and put her downstairs and exclude her from the honey so there's no eggs in your honey or you don't lose your queen when you come to harvest your surplus honey. But nonetheless, over and over a day, that's what I'll be doing. And just checking things, make sure everything's right with them. If, for example, I find a drone layer or something where it's an infertile worker bee trying to lay eggs and it's just all drones, I'll have to shake them. And that thing, she won't make it back for some reason, they just don't. And then I'll divide those frames amongst other hives because there's nothing for that one to do but go downhill. I mean, drones are nice when you need a daddy bee, but they don't go harvest pollen or forage, for nectar or whatever. They just hang around and do their daddy thing. But nonetheless, I'm also looking to exclude these hive beetles. Now, Nathan saw one beetle here. They can handle that. But if you have a hive that's just infested with them, you've got a real major problem. I've been fortunate so far it hadn't happened to me, but again, I'm reducing my entrances, like right here. And this is what all my increase